Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. We're going to do a technique here that I've heard referred to as spotlighting. It's where we take some additional embellishments and usually with a pop-up dot or something like that if you're using paper, raise a couple areas of our card to kind of spotlight an area or some specific subject matter usually. We're going to be using a couple Claybord art tiles, which are going to add a little bit of an extra dynamic to this look here, just for the very fact that they are hardboard tiles, solid and raised at the same time. Okay, I'm going to be using nature set number 9 here, and we're going to spotlight something in the sky, as well as the main focal point, which is the lakeside cove here. Kind of in a simple composition, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll utilize these tiles to bring out a given area down below, mainly the image itself, okay? So we're just going to do a simple background in terms of our approach, because there won't be any color on it. I guess you can reverse it or something like that and do a colored background in black and white, you know, raised areas, which might be interesting. I've never seen that done, but it's usually the embellishments, the raised portions that are kind of more of the focal point. Okay, so, oops, let's see, I need to stamp that out twice, so I'll keep this on here. And let me see. Actually, I have stamped it out right here ahead of time, so I'll go ahead and utilize that. I actually started this video and I forgot to turn on my microphone. Luckily, I caught that early. I've tried doing voiceovers on these videos before, but I don't know, it just, the software that I'm using to edit my videos, I don't know, it tends to come out a little bit garbled. Okay, so this is going to go up in the sky. I'm going to have these kind of at equal distance. So we'll put that moon, oops, I need to clean off my stamp a little bit. It's losing a little bit of its tack. Okay, all right, get that up again. And we'll go roughly around right here. There's the moon part right there. I keep my finger over the center just to kind of guide me in terms of center. It might not be perfectly centered, but, you know, it'll be generally in the vicinity that I want. Okay, that is that. Now let's do that again here. Now, I took stamp to paper. You know, I'm not going to stamp like this with my paper, but when you have a smaller tile than the stamp itself, okay, I find it just easier to take tile to stamp like that because I can just place it right down on there, and I can place it right down exactly where I want it to go. And you just press on this as if you're pressing down with your stamp onto paper. Okay, take that, and you've a good impression. So this is what it's going to look like. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to our composition right here. This looks a little bit blank, or not blank, but incomplete with blank areas in it. So I'm going to fill in some additional area on this. Okay. Since I'm using nature set number 9, I might as well use this imagery and give it a little bit of a stronger foreground. We'll use the Pines and Rocks small image to flank our lakeside cove. Okay, no masking necessary, just overlap into your lakeside cove, about a quarter to a half inch or so. And you get that nice seamless overlapping and transition into the side trees. They're kind of side trees, but they're also represent foreground trees because the trees are larger. Okay, so we have that. Why don't we add in... okay, now, the cloud cumulus doesn't come with this set, but now I would normally fill this in with color. Let's say this is going to be a blue moon up here or something of that sort. I would fill this in with additional blue tones normally. But since I'm not going to be doing any of that, we're just going to be doing a composition only layout in the background, no coloring. Although, I mean, you certainly could, but I'm going to fill in with some additional cloud texture. This is the cloud cumulus, and what I just did right there was I wiped off all around the perimeter on my rubber quite well. See, that's all my, ink coming off of that. I'm going to overlap into this about a half inch to quarter inch, okay? That takes all the positioning type of headache out of this for you, okay? You don't have to mask anything off when you can just wipe it off, okay? So we'll do that every time. You just kind of wipe it off like so. Now, from one impression to the next, I'm not going to change the angle like by 90 degrees, or some people just go like this, okay? But you just kind of match in with your previous impression like that, okay? Center pressure, and see how beautiful that stamps out like that, okay? Take it like this, wipe off the sides. I'm probably wiping a good half inch into this stamp, and I'm giving it a really good wipe right on the edges, okay? You don't have to do that for this to blend in, but it just makes it a lot easier to blend in. A very graceful merging from one impression to the next, because you're wiping off the side of this so that it kind of fades out on the edges, so that when you do it the next time, the edges that are fading out are fading into each other. Okay, now here's my trick with this. You take this cloud like this, and those billows are going upwards, meaning the lighting is coming from above them, right? Well, if the lighting, in this case the moon, is below these clouds, then you need to flip your cloud around like that, okay? And there's just a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe a quarter inch or so right up here, so you don't need to use the whole thing, but just go and merge right in there, okay? All right, one little bit left here. Okay, and now see, you can go like this. See, these clouds are going like that, but now I'm rotating them like this because the light is coming from to the right of them. Okay, so there you have it. It's just all filled in. And see where this embellishment's going to go? You're just going to match it up kind of roughly like so. It's almost like putting a little puzzle piece together like that. And this part is going to go roughly about right here, okay? So those are my little raised areas, okay? See that? But we're going to color these ones. I might put a little bit of tone in here. I think that might be kind of nice, just in a grayscale application. Now I would add in some foreground in here, okay? If this were going to be a finished scene, all right? Kind of a grayscale finished scene. But see, if I had some reeds down here, this is going to go right on top, and those reeds would kind of go underneath this tile, so they would go up like this, and I wouldn't have them in front of here like that. So I'm going to forego the foreground elements in this composition. It just gets easier and easier when you're doing this type of thing. Suddenly we've just done kind of midground and background or something like that. You don't even have to do your foreground elements, which I love doing, of course, but in something like this, these pop-up things are almost serving as your foreground, in terms of what you're seeing. Okay, so let's get a little bit of tone. I haven't really done too much of this before, but I thought, well, since we're doing this, these boards right here, and a lot of people haven't seen, these types of tiles before, so I thought, well, let's kind of, reestablish them in terms of, a potential surface choice for everyone. Okay, so just going on here with a surrounding tone, just doing it in grayscale. Now I am using black, but I'm using it in a very light shade, okay? I'll use it in the drier tone. Now I'm getting a little bit too dry, so I need to re-ink. But just kind of adding it around the perimeter. See, I'm just adding like that, okay? You have to kind of get used to using dry media. And when you do that, you really expand on the potential value range of every ink in your entire collection. Imagine you can, now I know people are going to, they're not going to like that in some ways, maybe subconsciously. You might say, hey, I like buying my stuff. I want to buy a light, a black. I want to buy a medium gray. I want to buy a light gray. We like buying things. I do too, okay? But sometimes just using something in a drier form isn't just like, that might not be the same gray that you would get straight out of a pad or something like that. So don't worry about it. You can still buy your things and have fun doing it. I do too. I'm no different. But for me these days, if I have something in a given form, and if another brand offers the same type of thing, for me, I don't usually get it. I usually want to get something if it's going to be, quite a bit of a difference for me in terms of hue, value, light and dark, something like that. I really like distress inks and whatever because it's kind of the aged version of all the other hues that I already have. Okay, usually colors have been often been kind of the I don't know, like the brightest version, which I like. I want really bright tones and deep saturations and things like that. But sometimes I like a little bit of I like them paired with kind of an aged, kind of rustic look too, or an earthy look maybe. Not just super bright all the time in intensity. All right, so that was my scene right there. There's a quick little scene. You can see that as like you can call it a quick card or something like that, and that's like done, If you like kind of black and white photography, or if you're a fan of kind of old movies and stuff, and like watching, certain things in black and white, I certainly do. Then you might like, kind of the monochromatic look. It's kind of like it's kind of like a dreamy type of, I don't know, feeling. Okay, that is that. Now, this isn't going to be too much, different here. Let me do this right here. I'm going to add color to these, okay? But let's just do this right here. I'll just add some quick shades on here, too. You can kind of do kind of grayscale types of applications of tone. Now this is a moon right here, so I want that moon to stand out nice and light. Now, don't forget, I'll be using color on this, so I don't have to add too much of this immediately. I do want this to get fairly dark, okay? But we have a lot of blues that we can use on this still, too, so this kind of gives us a little bit of a head start right here. See this right here? That could be done. I don't want it to be done because I want to do a lot of different colors on here to make this stand out more, but in terms of a lighting statement, it's pretty well set like that, okay? Let's do that same thing for our lakeside cove, okay? Now, on the lakeside cove, I like to retain some areas of light in my water, okay? Because water is a perfect kind of mirror or reflective element of what's going on in the sky. So I have a video called Easy Lighting, and this is a 2x2 tile here, but you can do the same concept in my easy lighting video. I showed this little color scheme, or value scheme really, of how to define light in a very easy way, which is just creating an area of light up here, and an area of light up here, separated by something dark. Now this one already has the lakeside coves kind of as a separator, but let's separate it a little bit more with some additional tone like this. Okay, so you can do that easy lighting scheme in the smallest of surfaces. I'd recommend for everyone to work in grayscale and black and white for a little bit. A lot of people don't like to do that. They're not comfortable with it, but that's what you do like in art school. You usually start off with grayscale or black and white as a freshman. I think I did that probably in high school. Then when I got to college, it was the same way. You beginning drawing classes, it's mostly charcoals and graphite. Then when I got into illustration, the illustration program, the whole first semester was only black and white. You have to get the fundamentals of textured lighting values down, and then when you can do that, when you go back to your color, you're able to introduce all of those different concepts into your color work, and it just makes them so much more they're really strong in terms of that foundational element of just the basic concepts of visuals. Okay, now that being said, let's move into some color. Let's make these two embellishments stand out. This is what it's going to look like right now. Okay, now remember I'm going to be doing some other things on here because we can with Stampbord. We can go back in and scratch back into these elements and whatnot and really make some things stand out. Alright, so on these, let's just take some blue here, okay? Using my same paper towel, it's a pretty cheap applicator, right? Okay, I'm not going to bother. I could have went with the lightest blue on here, like a Memento Summer Sky or a Salvia blue. You can use a Broken Glass Distress ink if you want to, but I already have kind of my lighter areas already established. Lights and darks with the black ink in there anyway, so let's just get right into the kind of a more medium toned blue. Okay. Now see, I'm going right over my moon, which I normally would never do, okay? But this is Stampbord, so you can go back in and you can lift off some of that blue with our scratch knives, scraper tools, and whatnot in very strategic ways. So you can over ink. Now, I wouldn't kind of disrupt everything. Like if you've already kind of established lighting, maybe you don't do, color out everything, because that'll give you more work to do when you get to the scratching portion of it. Okay, but you can. I mean, if you don't like something at all, after you get done coloring and everything like that, if you wanted to, you can take some steel wool and just, scratch that right off, and it'll come right off. It's not going to wipe right off or something like that, but steel wool, fine grained sandpaper, something like that. All right, let's move up to a darker blue. This is a Danube blue. Okay, now with the darker tones, what I usually do is I usually stay a little bit more perimeter oriented because I want it to look like the lighting is coming from the center here, so as it gets darker and darker areas are more perimeter oriented, or a perimeter applied. Alright, like that. Now, when I went on to my tile with that blue, some of my black disappeared a little bit because, I don't know, it kind of rubs off a little bit. Not completely, but see that? It can get darker again. So I just reapply that black right over the top. Okay? And we'll kind of go with the four corners for the most part. Okay, now those were Memento pads. Love them, okay? But since I have it here, I'm going to add in some Marvy blue, okay? And let's go with the Marvy number 10. Okay, now here's the thing too. A lot of you don't have Marvy pads or whatever. If you have alcohol pens or something like that, you can also use it. You can just color right on there. Now I'm not going to do that right now because if I put alcohol down, sometimes the water-based ink won't apply over the top of the water, the alcohol. Okay, so if you're going to do some alcohol pens or something like that, coloring on here, and those will work great on the tiles. Okay, do that before you're going to stamp something like a dye-based ink into it. Okay. All right, so here's the blue. I'll show you what this looks like on one side of the tile here. You see the difference there? How much brighter that color is? That blue. So I was talking about kind of the earthy versus the very bright. Okay, sometimes you want both because they make nice complements to each other. Okay. I might be applying a little bit more ink than maybe I should have. I don't know. Maybe I feel like using scratch knives a little bit more. I don't know. But I've kind of gone in quite a bit, so those are really kind of hazy looking. See this right here? I've kind of dabbed off a lot of my black again. At no point in time can you not go back to a previous color used, okay? So I'm going to use this again. Right here. 4 corners. When you go a little bit darker on the corners, the lighter area seems one step darker equals 1 step lighter if you've retained some light areas in your pieces. Okay, doesn't have to be right next to it, just anything within that composition, and you can call these tiles a composition. So I go a little bit darker on the corner there, and the moon stands out 1 step lighter by contrast. Alright, so we have that. Those are fun little pieces right there. I could have kind of expedited the process, and just inked up the whole thing like I did on my previous lesson. Alright, now what I'm going to do on these, the ink on here is, I used quite a bit of ink, so they're a little bit saturated. So let's heat set these a little bit, because the drier the ink, the cleaner the scratch is going to look like when I do my reverse application scratching. You don't have to scratch, these can go up here like, like this, and that looks pretty cool like that. But I think the textures of the scratching are really fun to do, and I think it makes it look even better. Maybe not completely dry, but certainly dry enough. Okay, so here's the different tools I'll use. I'll use a couple different scratch knives. Okay, one's kind of more of a spoon, one's more of a spear. This one right here gives me a thin, consistent line. This one right here you utilize on its edge. It's like a spoon where you're just kind of scraping away, or if you want to get a little bit more detail, then you kind of go more up on end. This is called a fiber brush, and it's almost like an eraser for boards like this. Fiber brushes are used for various things. You never want to extend it too far, otherwise those fiberglass hairs are just going to break instantly. Okay, that's a bunch of tightly bound fiberglass hairs, so you always have it retracted or extended just a little bit. Okay. All right. Where do you use this? Okay. On the designs themselves, there are some lighter areas, okay? You can certainly see the light area for the moon, okay? But where's the light areas for the clouds, okay? Let's take a look and see some examples. The moon is shining right there on these clouds right above the moon. We'll kind of bottom light some of those clouds, like they're capturing some of that light. If I scratch off just a little bit, what I do is I reveal some of the lighter blue, okay? But if I keep scratching, I might reveal all the way down to the white of the tile, the white of the clay. So you just barely touch, your board with this. It's almost like you're rubbing it. You're not kind of cutting into it. Now you can certainly cut into it if that's the look you want. Okay. See that right there? But now these clouds underneath the moon, we'll have those ones top lit, okay? So just your billows, are being illuminated accordingly. Above the moon, bottom lit. Underneath the moon, top lit, okay? If you ever take off too much, don't worry about it. Just take your ink it up again, and you're ready to go again. It's one of the most circular types of surfaces that you can use. What I mean by that is, if you don't like something, you just kind of scratch it right off, start over again, or color it over again, and re-scratch off whatever you want. Sometimes it's a combination of both. Maybe I want some of these textures in here, like these little scratch marks, but I don't want them white. I might want them blue, so I can scratch into this, reveal some white, and then ink those up with a light blue or something like that. But you see these? Where my clouds are not starting to get illuminated. See this cloud right up here? See that edge of it right there? Let's try the fiber brush a little bit, okay? Fiber brush is one where people think, oh my god, I can't see anything, so they want to extend it, but never do that. Anytime I send these brushes to someone, I tell them don't extend that, because I know that's what people do. I taught classes with this for many years, and I know kind of the tendencies. People will go like this. They can't see anything, so they think, oh, I need to extend that, but all they're doing is they're making it harder to do these kind of little sweeping types of reverse marks, because it becomes, the fibers become looser, so they're not as dense. So first of all, what they're doing is they're slowing down the process. They're not speeding up, but they're slowing it down. Plus, then they get all these kind of broken fiber hairs all over the place, and they get stuck in their finger or something like that. No big deal, but it's like those little cacti, that have those little fuzzy little needles. It's like hard to see in your finger. They're so small. But see that right there? See how I'm cutting through some of those darker blacks and blues up there? But look at this. I'm revealing that blue that was underneath the black. Isn't it fun? It's like it's glow in the dark or something like that. So that's why you can over apply your inks, knowing that you can kind of mine them out afterwards. Where if they were never there, okay, to begin with, you wouldn't be able to reveal them because they weren't there. But you could get, scratch through it and get to the white or something like that. But here I'm able to scratch through and get to, various values of blue that were applied. So this fiber brush is a pretty fun one to play around with. If you have some, I mentioned steel wool, there's sandpaper, there's various types of subtractive mark tools that you can use that are just household items. Okay, now see where I've added that tone around my moon? Let's reveal some lighter areas of the moon. Maybe I have it varied. The whole thing doesn't have to be stark white, or if you want to, you can put a little bit of a warm glow around it. Some of you want like a kind of a yellowish warm glow moon. Those are really cool too. You can do that. Okay, so see how that looks right there? It's kind of a fun embellishment. It's not like you have to deal with the scratch knife first and then this second. You can do this first and use those second. You can just use this and not those. It's really whatever you want. See that right there? Here's my spoon one. Let's see if I want to add in a little bit of a tighter detail, you know. Really the tops of the clouds on some of them are really reflecting, you know, a good amount of light, maybe. Like those little tiny bits of lighter areas here. See how that's lighter than the rest of it? It's just a little section that's been scratched off. Let's do the same. Let me see if I can hold this and do this. See, it's getting a little bit lighter with each scratch, but kind of minutely. Then we have that whole bit revealed. Let's reveal a little bit of light here. See that right there? I'll just do a little bit, but look at that. Those clouds are kind of like, it's almost like they're glowing or something like that, but they're really influencing the clouds above it. All right, so that is one. Let's take a look at this one. Look how much more textured that is. That has a lot of character, doesn't it? Okay, let's do it with this one. Okay, now in these ones right here, we don't have like a formal light source, but we know that the moon is above these rocks, so I'm just going to go in here and reveal some light on the tops of these rocks here. If you can't really see too well, the rocks are in just such darkness. Don't put any highlights on them because what you're saying is those rocks are so in such an area that's so dark, they probably wouldn't be reflecting much light because they're in the dark area. Okay, so there's there. How they're reflecting that lighting coming from above. Is that fun? A lot of people have Stampbord kind of, you know, tucked away in their supplies, and some of them they're saying, you know, they forgot about it, and it's time to pull that out of storage again, which is fun. It's kind of fun to, you know, rediscover our materials. You can almost call it lost materials if you haven't used it for like 10, 15 years. Okay, now see this texture up here? Let's do the same thing. Well, where can you do it? There's no clouds down here. Well, you could put some clouds, you know, reflecting that area up there. But let's just put in our water. Let's put in some striations down here, and let's illuminate this a little bit more. Let's say this moon is illuminating this lake down here, okay? Now, I have this on its side because this is the natural motion of my hand, okay? If I'm like this, I'm like this, and this is awkward, okay? See, I put the tiles in position of my hand, okay? Let's start in with the center, and I'll do a little streak out like this, okay? I'll show you what I mean by that here in a second. Okay, I'm starting in the center and working down like that. Then what I do is I'll flip this around, and I'll start in the center and work it out like that. Do you see what I mean? So that this kind of stroke kind of dissipates as it moves out this way. And why is that? It's because it's lighter here, firmer touch, and I just go like that, and it just kind of streaks out into these lighter areas. Does that make sense? See, I'm kind of going like this, okay? That way a nice tapered, in this case, removal of ink. if I can get this to focus in, there we go. So, water down there, does that look a little bit more mirrored? Let's do the same thing up in the sky. I think I have something on my fiber brush. Okay, here we go. So right there. Gives a little bit of character, I'd say. Let's hit it with our scratch knife too, maybe. I'm really tempted to put some stars up here, but that, in this case, it wouldn't have stars because we have our putting it where our moon is. Okay, now let's take a look and see what this is going to look like so far. And you just kind of match that up with that, that lake down there. And this one will go. We'll match this up right where that moon goes. Okay, something like that. Pretty good as far as our embellishments go. We'll need to definitely matte this out here, and bring these colors into the matte. But I think so far so good. Okay, now what we're going to do here with these pieces is we're going to finish them off kind of nicely. See, the edges of these are just that hardboard panel, okay? This wood. So the edges look really kind of, I don't know. I think they're kind of boring like that. So what I like to do is I like to give them some extra character with some pigment ink. And I'm going to put silver on this one. Because I like silver with the blues, okay? You just hold your tile up. Let me see if I can show you this. And I just dab right into the pigment ink like this. Kind of drag a little bit too. I think it just kind of makes the process go faster. See that silver edge like that? Look at that in comparison to that side. Silver. Look at that. It reflects light beautifully too. Okay, see that right there? It almost looks like the tile, it's like made of metal or something like that. Instead of, that wood. Look at that reflective quality to it. Now, if you press in a little bit deeper, you can get a little bit of that color showing on the front of your piece too, like that. And it kind of frames them. See that little silver on the edge? It's like framed in silver a little bit. Okay, see that? Like silver edge like that? Okay, let's do the same thing for this. I'm actually kind of tilting this over a little bit, trying to get a little bit more of that silver ink on the front side of the tile. And one more side. Now I'm centering these two elements right here, but a lot of times when people do this spotlighting thing, it could be an inchy tile here, there, something like that. It's really whatever. All right, so that is my silver edged piece. Now I'm kind of holding this like this because I've been touching the edges of these pieces a lot and getting it all over my finger. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these outside and spray seal them. Okay, I'm going to do it with like a Krylon UV acrylic spray. And what that'll do is it'll really make this finish on the surfaces much more complete and kind of sealed in. If it doesn't make them look glossy, it'll make them look more satiny, but look how these nice embellishments are. Easy to do, too. Okay, so I'm going to pause this video and get that spray. Alright, I'm back from spraying. I don't know, it took like 5 minutes or something like that for the Krylon crystal clear to dry. It's fairly dry outside, but see how shiny and, I don't know, kind of nice these look? And see that kind of that silver framing on these? Isn't that kind of cool? Now I gave these an extra thick spray, and I don't know, it dried pretty fast though. I got a little bit of that silver right there smudged because of that, you know, my handling, but I think it looks okay. But now, putting this onto this, my scene here, it occurs to me that I think I want a little bit extra, but I could give these a little bit of a, like a frame around the edge, which I think might look kind of nice. Now look at this. See, these are even the silver little pin things that I did before, but look at this. This would even look really cool on here with that silver. If you put one of these down like that, that would be kind of like a little, I don't know, spotlight or something like that. This is a little bit too big on there, but you could do something like that. You could even send out a card like this, where this is on here. You just do with those removable kind of pop-ups, and this, you can put a little tag on that, and that could be this hanging, you know, kind of ornament that you can take off their card like that. Or even something like this is kind of neat, you know, you can put that, there's that piece down there, and you can even do something like that. This one's, I wouldn't have it hanging off the edge like this, but I'm just saying you could do, we could have done our little tile embellishment angled like that, and that would have been kind of cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to come up with a little bit of a frame embellishment, you know, to match these tiles on here, and we'll format this card. Okay, I have formatted this card, and I think it looks pretty good. I've given it a little bit of a border of this. This is the Lapis Lazuli Stardream, but I've put it around right there. Can you see it right there, that blue? Okay. Now the reason why I did that is because I also put that Lapis Lazuli around each one of my tiles like that. You see this right here? So see, it gives a little bit of continuity between these pieces and this overall piece. And then when I was cutting this down, I was going to cut just this bottom portion open, you know what I mean? So there would just be a frame. But I thought, you know, this would be a really great place for a quote, so I used the Henry David Thoreau one. A lake is the landscape's most beautiful and expressive feature. It is Earth's eye, looking into which the beholder measures the depth of his own nature. All right, so kind of, you know, I don't know, it kind of went with that and whatnot. Lapis lazuli, matting or mounting for all these, and then the silver piece, brings it all together. And again, this is the Stardream Silver. And then that silver, you know, kind of matches with the silver on these little embellishments right here. All right, let's have some fun right here. Let's remove a couple of these photo squares, or they call them mounting squares. These are really, I don't know, I've always found them to work very well. And I'll just try to match this up as best as I can. Okay, with that moon. It's kind of more centered than anything. Okay, tack that down. All right, see how that goes like that? Okay, and then we'll put this one down right here. And I'll match that up. I'm not really trying to match it up too much with this lake exactly. I should match it up with this top piece more so than anything. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe I should have lowered that one a little bit. I'll go about like so. Yeah, okay. let's see, let's make this even. You can have a little bit more space down here than the top one because this is the base level portion. Okay, so I'll go like that. All right, let's take a look and see what this looks like overall. Okay. What do you think? Did you see that? What do you think about that silver on there? See that silver around these pieces? See, it really kind of... But see, if I didn't do that extra little Stardream around there, that silver wouldn't stand out as much because that silver would be right against that lighter area. So, yeah, there we go. See that? You can really see how that silver kind of stands out from the Brilliance pigment ink. You can use a different type of ink too, but I don't know. The Brilliance really dries fast. They dried when I sprayed them. All right, but here's that three-dimensional aspect to it. Look how great those tiles look on there, kind of popping out like that. But then here you have this composition. Do you see that, how it fits into that surrounding area, you know, with the clouds in the background? And here's the quote. The quote was kind of a nice surprise. I was going to frame this, but I thought, well, that, you know, the Lapis Lazuli was already the framing device for these ones, so I don't know, I couldn't think of something to put around it, but I thought it looked pretty good just as is. So there's the piece. I think it looks pretty good as a card format like this too. I mean, it's just like a postcard. It's not like a open, you know, folding one or something like that. But I don't know. I thought it looked like kind of like a little art gallery or something like that. Something, you know, something sticking out like that with a little, you know, kind of tag at the bottom, designating it, you know, what it says, or what it's about or whatnot. So, spotlighting. I always thought it was kind of an odd name for this type of thing, but I'll go with it because that's what they used to call it. You know, to have those little things like that. But I think it makes for a really elegant piece. And like I said, I mean, these two are pretty dominant as far as the larger whole. But sometimes I've seen like those little inchy ones, like one or two. You know, you can do a whole scene in the background, and maybe your birds or something like that are up there in the thing. You can even have a whole scene or something like that, and you can do your quote in a pop-up. Now, I thought about doing the quote in a larger tile down here, but I thought that would detract from this. But I mean, that would be pretty cool to have the quote, you know, as something standing. Or you can do a whole scene, do a quote, a word stamp, happy birthday or whatever, and put that thing popping up. And wouldn't that be kind of cool? So all kinds of different possibilities with this type of thing, and you know, those Claybord art tiles, formerly known as Stampbord, kind of make it really easy because we don't have to pop these up; they're already sticking up. So, because they're like that, it's really easy to you know, to add that little border around them too. See that this continuity between this border like this. It goes silver, blue card, blue, silver tile. You know what I mean? And giving it that. I don't know, kind of needle and thread running through there. So little things like that, I think, bring things together. Having, you know, common colors, textures, patterns, materials, etc. In this case, it's the lapis lazuli, kind of bringing everything together. And then the secondary thing is the silver. Now, I wish that lapis lazuli matched the color of that blue a little bit more. That would have, you know, been extra special, but I don't know, since I didn't have a paper close to kind of that, I don't know, whatever, turquoise-ish royal blue. We'll just go with the blue that I happen to have, but it is reflective and iridescent, just as these tiles are now somewhat reflective with the spray that's been applied to them. All right, blabbing on and on. I'm just kind of sitting here enjoying this. I haven't done one of these things in quite a while. Hope you enjoyed the project, and hope you give these tiles a chance and try something out. Try a little bit of spotlighting like this. I really enjoyed this process right here. Every time I do something like this and like it, I think, oh, I should do, you know, more of that. So I'll add that to the other, you know, 75 things I want to do, you know. So fun stuff, and kind of a cool result like that. All right. Thanks again for watching. If you like this video, I hope you hit the like button and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video.